Stop being cheap. Invest in yourself. We have all heard the gurus screaming this from their private jets. It sounds like wisdom. It feels empowering. It makes you feel like the hero of your own movie. But here's the math. You are 55 years old. Your retirement account shows 0. You have exactly 10 years before the workforce spits you out. Suddenly that advice sounds like a trap. I'm not a licensed financial advisor. This video analyzes economic data and historical patterns, not personalized financial guidance. Every situation is different. Consult a qualified professional before making money decisions. So why is America's most popular financial advice actually dangerous for millions of people? And what options exist when the clock runs out? 1 in 5 Americans over 50 has $0 saved for retirement. 20% of an entire generation. No nest egg, no safety net, nothing. Hearing a millionaire tell them to invest in themselves feels like, let them eat cake, before the French Revolution. Maybe you think this is laziness, bad choices, personal irresponsibility. If it were just a few people, sure. But 43% of workers between 55 and 64 face the exact same reality. When nearly half the workforce is broke near the finish line, that's not personal failure. That's systemic collapse. The system failed. If the machine chewed up an entire generation, the rules changed without anyone telling you. When did that happen? What part of the engine broke? Until the early 70s, the deal was simple. Productivity and wages moved in lockstep. Work harder, get paid more. The lines went up together. The system worked. August 1971. The Nixon shock. The dollar was severed from gold. Right there, the chart splits. It looks like giant scissors opening up. Over 50 years, worker productivity shot up 77%. Real wages, they crawled up 12%. The value workers created kept rising. Their share of the pie stayed flat. The gap grew slowly at first. Invisible. Then it accelerated. Corporations canceled guaranteed pensions. They handed workers a 401k instead. They called it empowerment. They told people to be their own portfolio managers. In reality, it was a resignation letter. We're not responsible for you anymore. If the market crashes, that's your problem. You're on your own. Canceling the safety net was just the beginning. 2008, the market collapsed. Retirement accounts bled out 40% of their value overnight. 2020. The pandemic. It forced millions of workers over 50 out of the job market years before they were ready. The knockout blow. The inflation shock of 2022 to 2024. 97% of salaries failed to keep up with the price of groceries and gas. 3 historic catastrophes in 15 years. An entire generation faced this gauntlet without a pension, without a safety net, without backup. When gurus scream at people to stop being cheap, they miss the point. Being frugal after 50 isn't a poverty mindset. For many, it's rational survival in a system that has been hostile for decades. However, even this rational reaction hides a trap. The financial gurus are half right. Improper frugality really can damage financial futures. But their diagnosis is completely wrong. The problem isn't that people are being cheap. The problem is many are saving money in the wrong places. There are 2 types of cheap. One type is a shield. It protects you. The other type is slow-acting poison that can destroy your standard of living 10 years from now. Most people cannot tell them apart. 80% of older households are financially unstable or at risk of poverty. 80%. These people aren't reckless spenders. They're cutting coupons, skipping coffee, pinching every penny. But they're still sinking. Why? They're cutting the costs that generate value while ignoring the silent leaks actually sinking the ship. Start with the thing sitting in your driveway. The new car. You signed the papers for $45,000. It feels like success. You smell the leather. You feel the steering wheel. But the math tells a horror story. Year 1. That car loses $10,000 in value. Most people shrug. Well, cars lose value. But look at it through a retiree's lens. If someone had invested that $10,000 and used the standard 4% withdrawal rule, that money would generate $400 of passive income every month. Forever. That person didn't just buy a car. They traded $400 of monthly security in their 60s for the smell of new plastic today. The car is obvious. Big. Heavy. Visible. The next leak is invisible. The average American over 50 bleeds $237 a month on subscriptions they barely use. Streaming services. Gym memberships. Digital tools. It feels like small change. $10 here. $15 there. Zoom out. Over 10 years, that's $28,440. That's not a Netflix bill. That's a down payment on a rental property vanished into the cloud. Cutting these costs is basic triage. It stops the bleeding, but there's a danger zone. Certain expenses where being cheap creates catastrophic risk. Where do financial planners warn against cutting costs? This is where being cheap stops being strategy and starts being liability. Health. Someone skips a dental cleaning. It saves $150 today. They feel smart. They beat the system. 5 years later, that ignored cavity turns into a root canal. The bill is $5,000. They didn't save money. They took out a high-interest loan from their own body. The debt collector is at the door. Or health insurance. Someone cuts a plan costing $89 a month to save cash. It works until one bad night. A single ER trip hits $3,000 before a doctor even looks at you. We talk about compound interest making you rich. We forget it works in reverse. In this zone, $1 saved today can create $10 of debt tomorrow. Note: consult healthcare professionals for medical decisions. This is financial analysis of health-related costs, not medical advice. But a toothache won't bankrupt you. The real threat is bigger. Long-term care insurance. At age 55, a policy costs $2,500 a year. It feels expensive, money down the drain. So people wait. They roll the dice. At age 65, the price explodes to $7,500 a year. If they're lucky, if someone developed a condition in that 10-year gap, insurers won't just charge more. They'll deny coverage completely. 80% of older households are one disaster away from total financial collapse. One bad fall. One diagnosis. One accident. Game over. What does that collapse actually look like? This is a hypothetical scenario based on statistical patterns. Your situation may differ significantly. Year 1, age 55. Someone cuts that expensive health insurance supplement. They save $1,068 for the year. The math looks good. They feel smart. Year 3, age 57. They skip the annual checkup to save another $300. They feel fine. Why pay doctors for nothing? Year 5, age 59. That silent issue inside them, the one a doctor would have found 2 years ago, becomes critical. Year 6, age 60. Emergency surgery. The bill is $50,000. No supplemental insurance. Their emergency fund? Gone in an afternoon. Year 8, age 62. Still recovering. They physically cannot return to work. They're forced to retire early. This triggers the penalty. They take Social Security now, taking a permanent 30% cut on every check for the rest of their life. Year 10, age 64. The money runs out. The bank sends the letter. Foreclosure begins. They saved less than $1,400 over 5 years. The price they paid was everything they owned. But people survive this. People navigate this minefield without blowing up their lives. How? To survive this minefield, many financial planners suggest using a filter. A simple binary rule to make decisions when you're tired and stressed. Call it the frugal decision matrix. The principle is clear. Left side. Aggressively reduce. Anything that depreciates. Cars, gadgets, status symbols. If it's worth less tomorrow than today, many experts suggest eliminating it. Anything that won't matter in 10 years. That premium subscription. That expensive dinner. That ego purchase. If it doesn't compound, it's often considered a leak. Right side. Prioritize protection. Anything that compounds physically. Your health, preventative care. If ignored now, it often returns with greater cost. Anything that builds a wall around your life. Insurance. Long-term care protection. Financial advisors typically warn against negotiating with safety nets. Professional defense. Good tax planning. Solid legal advice. The strategy. Spend money to prevent exponential losses. Save money on everything else. What does it look like when 12 years pass? 2 people. Same age. Same income. Same starting point. At age 50, they make radically different choices. Person A and Person B. At age 55, they stand at a fork. Person A, the lifestyle path. Person A listens to the lifestyle gurus. He invests in himself. He buys the new car for $45,000 because quality signals success. He spends $8,000 on self-improvement seminars. He eats out 3 nights a week because you only live once. When the bill for long-term care insurance comes, he cancels it. He looks at that $2,500 premium and thinks, I can use this money better elsewhere. Over 5 years, he burns through $60,000 on things that make him feel rich, but make him poor. Person B, strategic frugality. He chooses the boring path. He buys a certified used car for $20,000. He takes the $25,000 difference and puts it straight into an emergency fund. He ruthlessly cuts subscriptions. He downsizes the house, unlocking $80,000 of equity sitting in drywall. Then he does the one thing person A refused to do. He buys the insurance. He pays the premiums. He hires a fee-only planner to check his blind spots. Person B shifted over $100,000 into a defensive wall. Person A spent his wall on a lifestyle. For 5 years, nothing happens. They both turn 60. Person A looks successful. Person B looks average. But then age 62 hits. A major medical event hits both of them. Same diagnosis. Same hospital bill. Up until this moment, their lives look the same. But the road splits. One is about to lose everything. The other will barely feel a bump. Fast forward 5 years. Both men are now 67. The timeline brutally separates. Person A, the nightmare. He canceled his insurance. That $80,000 medical bill came directly out of his pocket. It drained his life savings in less than 24 months. That $45,000 car he loved? He had to sell it in a panic for $15,000. The house? The foreclosure notice is taped to the front door. He's now dependent on his children and the state just to buy groceries. This isn't living. This is survival. Person B, dignity. He faced the exact same $80,000 bill. But the insurance policy he bought wrote a check for $64,000. He only paid a fraction. His emergency fund of $150,000? Almost entirely untouched. His smaller house? Paid off. Nobody can take it from him. The money he saved from downsizing pays him $4,000 a year in passive income. He's not surviving. He's living with dignity. The difference between these two men wasn't income. It wasn't luck. It wasn't IQ. The difference was that person B understood that being cheap on liabilities allows you to be rich on protection. He wasn't wealthier. He was just smarter about where to deploy his limited resources. If the math is this obvious, why do financial gurus keep screaming at people to stop being cheap? Why is the system pushing a narrative that leads millions off a cliff? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Historical patterns suggest the system is unlikely to change without major reforms. Wages show no signs of suddenly catching up to inflation. Corporations have demonstrated no indication of bringing back pension plans out of goodwill. Social Security? Current projections suggest it will cover roughly 40% of bills. Individuals have become the last line of defense. There is no cavalry coming. When financial gurus tell people to stop being cheap, ask yourself one question. Who are they talking to? If someone has $500,000 in the bank at age 55, sure, buy the premium brand. There's a margin for error. But if someone is sitting on $50,000 or zero, they're playing a completely different game. The goal for those in this position is not to build an empire. The goal is to build a floor. A floor so thick and so strong that when the economy shakes, they don't fall through the cracks. Real poverty mindset after 50 isn't about clipping coupons. Real poverty mindset is pretending you're rich enough to make mistakes when one bad decision could wipe you out. The rules of the game have changed. Playing by the old rules significantly increases the probability of financial hardship. That's why invest in yourself can be misleading for millions of people. It's a strategy for the wealthy marketed to people in survival mode. Many financial advisors suggest ignoring the noise. Stop apologizing for being frugal. Build your floor. Nobody else is going to build it for you. Financial planners often recommend a systematic approach. Here's a common framework. Step 1. The audit. Week 1. Many experts suggest reviewing bank statements. Look at every transaction from the last 30 days. Every subscription. Every dinner, every purchase, over $100. Write it all down. Clarity precedes action. Step 2. The separation. Days 8 to 10. Take that list and split it into 2 columns. Column A. Expenses that depreciate. Anything for status. Anything that won't matter in 10 years. Column B. Expenses that protect or compound. Anything that protects your body or assets. Step 3. The cut. Days 11 to 14. Identify the 3 biggest items in column A. Eliminate them. Don't pause them. Don't negotiate. Cancel them. The typical goal. Free up $200 to $500 of cash flow every month. Step 4. The reinvestment. Day 15. Many financial planners suggest redirecting that money into 3 layers of defense. Priority 1. Health insurance. If there are gaps, many advisors recommend closing them. Priority 2. The emergency fund. Financial experts often recommend $10,000 in liquid cash. 2 or 3 months of survival. It sits there. It does nothing. It's boring. But it can stop a panic from becoming a tragedy. Priority 3. Professional advice. $300 to $800 a year for a qualified tax advisor or financial planner. This is not financial freedom. That's marketing. This is what financial planners call a defensive financial structure. The principle: build walls when threats are already visible. If you're over 50 with zero buffer, consider turning off the gurus. They're often selling hope to people who have time. When time is limited, choices become critical. Every dollar spent today on something that loses value is a dollar that won't be there at 70. At 70, money isn't about status. It's about dignity. Being strategically frugal when there's no margin for error isn't a vice. Many would call it wisdom. For some, it's the only path to survive a system that has demonstrated hostility for decades. If this analysis changed how you look at your future, send it to someone over 50 who might benefit from this perspective. For more financial history without the noise, subscribe. Remember, the real poverty mindset isn't being frugal. It's pretending you have a margin for error when you don't.